class breakdown. Here we go. We are going to look at the winter, our school, and then our class. We're going to have the breakdown by RIT. I'm going to click to review the report online, although you can create a PDF and print it out if you would like to use it for planning at home. Now, when it's broken down by RIT, you see both math and reading, because I did select both, and you will see that the quadrants are based into 10-point intervals as to how your students scored on the test. So your interval blocks are going to be starting at wherever their lowest student scored at, and it's going to be ending at wherever your highest student scored at. And this is for the entire score, the entire test, the RIT score. So if I want to look specifically at subject levels, or I want to look at more specific data, then I'm going to click on the subject. I'm going to go into looking at breakdown by instructional area. But if you look here, the first thing they told us to do is look for outliers. So I'll see, like, I have one student over here in ELA, the lowest quadrant, and then I have one student over here in math in the highest quadrant, and the rest of my students are pretty much clumped together in this general math. So it gives me kind of a flexibility for grouping these students because they're all performing at similar standards. Now, at similar levels. Some of your students and some of your classes might be spread out a lot more than mine are. So that might present a little bit more challenge for you in regards to planning. And they said that's when we will probably look at our grade level teams and see where we can manipulate our groups based off of that to try to get more homogenous groups. Then we also want to look at, did they rush when they took the test? Are they ESL students, or are they on an IEP? And also looking at the testing conditions that the students took to take the test. So with my student down here in the 130 area, he rushed. It didn't register on the test because I believe a rush registry would be anything under 2 seconds or something like that. So it didn't register on his test that he rushed. However, administration has the ability to look at the testing, and they have a rush report that they can print off. And with that rush report, they can look at those students and they can look at the way that they scored, and they can decide if that is something that needs to be looked at deeper as far as retesting, changing test conditions, et cetera, et cetera. And they said that all of that is based off of the buildings level. There's so far not a district cutoff for a rush rate. So if you click on to the subject area, then you see they break it down even further into like I said, the instructional area. So that's when you get your language and writing, foundational skills, and things like that. The student's total RIT score is listed behind their name. So you can see where that student falls on the norm scale because this is their total scale. However, you can also see where students might have an area where they're struggling in. So if you look at this student, A. Caruso, in my class, she scored a 146 totally. But in the area of language and writing, she only is in the 121 to 130 range, meaning that this is the area of that can be improved for her. This is the area that she needs to work on, and this is a gap that I can work on improving. And then over here, you'll see we kind of have the opposite end of the spectrum as well. This student only scored a 161. However, they're in the 171, 180 quadrant for literature and informational text. So that is an area of strength for that student. That's something that he or she has possibly mastered and can benefit from either deeper learning in that area or possibly skipping that area if you were focused on students who need to fill in those gaps, because that is an area of strength for them. Okay, one final report. This is the last one. The achievement, status, and growth summary with quadrants. And I'm going to select my class. And we're going to look at fall to winter growth. Okay, so when they started this, they had us uncheck all of these boxes to see, to show what we are looking at. So first thing we did, sorry, uncheck that and that. So the first thing we did was just to show quadrant colors. And you'll see that up here we have the two quadrants at the top represent student growth, and the quadrants at the bottom represent student achievement. So if you have a student who falls into this area, they have low growth and low achievement. They performed low, and then they also have not shown adequate growth according to the RIT scale. If you have a student in this quadrant, it's low achievement, but they showed high growth. So they are still performing maybe under grade level or below grade level. However, they are learning, and it's showing that they have grown while in your classroom. If you have students in this quadrant, they started high, they had high achievement, either high scores to begin with, and they did not show adequate growth according to their RIT scale. So they are growing, but not at the rate, or they could be growing, or they could have gone down, but not at the rate that the RIT scale shows or registers growth. And then in this quadrant, it would be students who are high achieving and they also have high growth. So if you look at your class, you can just start with just one subject. So I'm just going to put ELA down here. So just start with one subject and kind of see where your students fall, like where they fall at in those quadrants. So I have some students who had low achievement, and they again are showing low growth on the scale. A few students had high achievement, but still not growing very much. And then I had lots of students who started with high scores, and then they grew some. Look at the data, and then you can look at both together. You also can look at the students' names next to their data to see where they fall at. So you might have a student who, falls in the high achievement, high growth for math. However, for reading, they could be down here in that low achievement, low growth. So that also, again, is going to show gaps in learning, student strengths and weaknesses, and then areas where you can start planning your assessment and your teaching. There is a Padlet link that I'm going to put in the chat, and I'm also going to try to put a copy of the norm achievement norms for 2020. I will try to put that link or a picture of that in there as well. All right, hoping I included everything in this video, because again, I'm not very good with one take videos, but hit me up if you have questions about anything. I would be happy to go over reports with you, how to set up your tests and things like that. So yeah, just let me know if you have questions.